My manager has problems with clock watchers. In my last job when I started, I would log in as soon as I got there, and if I had anything to finish up I would do it before I left. I didn't mind as I'm a team player. This resulted in me doing 20-30 minutes a day unpaid, but I liked the company and liked a clear desk. Fast forward 2 years and my father-in-law was terminally ill. We got a call from the hospital telling us we had to get there ASAP as he didn't have long left. I told my manager and left at 3.45, core hours were 10 to 4. The next month my pay was docked for half a day. I had already made 2 hours extra unpaid that week, but they told me they couldn't make exceptions and the extra I did was my own decision. Alrighty then. I came in on the dot and left in the dot. I did this for 5 years. I worked to the letter of my contracted hours. My manager was talking to a new starter and in my earshot, she told him she hated clock watchers who left on the dot as this doesn't show company loyalty. I leaned over and replied, loyalty works both ways, and being docked half a day's pay for attending the deathbed of a beloved family member when I'd already done more than my weekly hours was cruel and unfeeling. So I show the company the same level of compassion they showed me. After all, rules are rules and exceptions cannot be made. The new starter started on the dot and left on the dot, as did the whole staff. I dread to think how many extra hours they lost over the whole department over the next few years.
Now to the comments. Good for you, OP. It's so easy for workers to end up doing these little bit extras around their core hours, and so common for managers to not give a shit.
If I ask my employees to stay later, I never tell them to clock out. Duck that shit. Company wants to run short, well, you're gonna pay a little extra for the people who do help. Sorry? I thought we paid people for work?
So much better than the other kind of manager. My buddy was working at Pizza Hut back then. They closed at midnight, but his dumb manager would still be taking orders up until then, meaning that they regularly would have to stay until 1 o'clock, 1:20 to get every pizza delivered out the door. My friend walked up to the register to clock out. Manager said, "What are you doing?" Friend, "Clocking out." Manager, "Oh, I already clocked you out." What? I asked him how long it's been going on. He didn't know. Manager probably clocked everyone out on time at midnight. Told friend to run and never look back. Even delivering pizzas you can do better. Exactly. This is what I think a lot of management forgets. I love my command chain because they very decidedly support us, they back us up, and they make sure we're getting what we need, period. And because of that, I bust my butt for them when they need us to push a little more than usual. It's all about respect and empathy.
I call that the illusion of replaceability. Too many employers see their workers as drag and drop replaceable and don't invest in individual employees at all, because they don't see them as individual, not even as people, but as a production factor. I've seen plenty of projects go under because experienced just workers get replaced with newbies, which hurts both the experienced as well as the new workers as well as the bottom line of the company. Nobody wins except the managers getting a bonus that year for cutting costs.
I was working as a general office manager for a small company. The office was above the business showroom. One day I was asked to mind the store whilst the receptionist took 30 minutes for lunch. I could then go to lunch when she returned. She was 15 minutes late returning from lunch, and 5 minutes before her return an extremely difficult/pedantic customer walked in. I assumed the receptionist would take over, but she refused. "It's your customer." She sat at her desk and the phone rang. She didn't answer it. For the next 2 hours I dealt with the customer and the phone rang, unanswered. At 3 o'clock she stood up and walked out. "I'm just having a tea break. If the phone rings, can you answer it? They don't seem to be picking up upstairs." She left the room and the customer made some remark about the people upstairs. I replied, "I am the person upstairs." By 5 o'clock I eventually satisfied the customer's requirements, got the order, and returned to the upstairs office. The owner of the company was now present and I explained what had happened. He said he would have words with the receptionist and I should go home 30 minutes early since I hadn't had a break. No action was taken about the receptionist and I was docked 1 hour's pay for finishing early. The order was worth £1,000 and a showroom operative would have made a sizable commission from the deal. I got nothing. My loyalty to the company waned somewhat after that.
I can't believe she wouldn't answer the phone when she was right there at the desk. If I was the owner, I would have fired her ass.
She most likely knows where the bodies are buried. I had a job once that was on an awkward bus route. My hours were 9 to 5 but the bus that was due to get me there at 8:50 was always late, and the bus that got me there at 8:30 was always late, so I used to get there, and start work, at 8:10 every morning. After work if I got on a bus at 5:05 I would be home at 5:30, but the next bus always got stuck in rush hour traffic and I wouldn't be home until after 7. Because of this I left on the dot at 5 until my manager pulled me aside and told me that I was expected to work until 5, not just be there till 5, so I wasn't allowed to start shutting down my computer until 5. I explained the bus situation and that I did an extra 50 minutes every day anyway, but he didn't care and offered the solution to buy a car. I was just about able to shut down at 5, run to the bus stop, often waving it down as it tried to leave, and normally get home at a reasonable time, until my manager said I was leaving early and that I had to follow the clock on the wall, not the clock on my computer. Even proving to him that the wall clock was 2 minutes slow just made me a smart arse in his eyes. So, I started taking a book in with me and reading that instead of working between 8:10 and 9 o'clock, then at 9 o'clock when he asked why I wasn't working I pointed out that the wall clock said it was 8:58 and since he was so strict with me, I didn't want to give him 50 minutes of my time every day anymore. That evening he called my agency, told them I was leaving at 4:45 every day and had me fired and blacklisted from getting a new job through them.
Shutting down the machine and closing out files counts as work. It's overhead, but it's no different than cleaning up a machine after you're done using it. Any boss who tells you otherwise is lying out of their teeth. Keep track of that time and file unpaid labor afterwards.
Yeah, if you're a butcher, you don't stop cutting meat at 5, you stop at 4:30 so you can clean up the equipment before 5. When I was a manager, I tried to be as flexible as possible as long as the team members did their job and the customers were happy. If they had to leave an hour early to grab a plane to go on vacation, they would make sure the work was done and I had no problem at all with it. If one week we were on a tight schedule, they would stay an extra hour without being asked, and, if it was more than that, I would let them come in late, or leave early on a Friday. The next time there was not a big workload. I learned that having a happy team is better and they are more productive that way. Oddly enough, almost no one took advantage/abused this liberty. The two that did were not given these privileges and eventually were invited to leave the project, or the company in one case.
It's almost like people respond well to being treated like human beings.
Megacorp, nah, that can't be it. This smells like company that says it is a family.
OP replied. Yep, you've totally nailed it.
We're a family. Like Cinderella had. The 20 to 30 minutes a day unpaid were illegal. I think docking you half a day's pay for 15 minutes absence might have been illegal too. You have to be paid for all of your hours worked.
The combination is illegal. According to his example, if he worked a couple extra hours, left 15 minutes one day, and was docked a half day, that would mean he worked 41.75 hours but was paid for 36. Should have contacted the labor board.
Wage theft, I'm pretty sure. Fet. I ran a contracting firm for 40 plus years and it would not have occurred to me to dock you for that 15 minutes, much less anything more.
I had a job where I was switched to salary and had to fire a guy, and until I could hire someone new I was working Monday to Friday 9 to 5 and Friday to Saturday midnight to 8 and not getting paid anything for the extra 16 hours, but I took 2 hours at lunch in the same week and was docked an hour of pay. I think about that guy and want to stab the mother ducker. It was my first serious jib. But I was still around 18. He promised me a 6-figure buyout when he sold the company and used it as the reasoning for shit pay and no benefits. He never sold.